What is up, everybody? It is a Tuesday night, and Tuesday night means one thing. It's time to crack open a garage beer and get to the Orion Podcast. My name is Chad Brock.
And I'm Zach Bailiff.
Here we go. First podcast of 2024. Welcome
And I'm
back.
already having all kinds of technical issues. Dude, the volume right now is like a level 100 out of 100 in my ears.
Push it back just a little bit, or you want me to yell at it louder?
No, it's not you. The volume buttons on the phone won't raise or lower the volume. So my normal headphones won't connect. Switched over to the AirPods. I think the mic's still working, but we'll figure it out.
It's working. It sounds good. You sound good. If I'm probably deafening you, I'll try to be a little bit quieter.
Don't sweat
Got the new headphones. New headphones on my end, so
Yeah.
that's new and exciting. Thanks to my mom for this elaborate Christmas gift. She's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I need new headphones." Because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, my last ones were trash.
Yeah. Those have been great, but they're not connecting tonight. So we'll figure it out.
Glad you've been in the heat of show season, the ATA show, and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah.
hey, we missed a few. We had some good episodes, and then Christmas came, and then I got sick, and you was sick, and then it was show season, and here we are. Finally.
I was sick very briefly, but everybody else in my house was sick for like 2.5 months. So, or it seemed like it. So
the cough never ended.
Yeah, no, I avoided the plague successfully. I did have a stomach bug for like 36 hours, but that was over quick. And then off to ATA I went for. I was trying to figure it out how many shows I've actually been to. I can't remember when my first one was. If it was 13 or 14.
I want to say we went in 13.
So this would have been my 9th because I did miss 2021. I got the Rona the day before, and Nick was like, "I don't care, come on," and I didn't. I was not in driving shape at the time, so
I believe our first ATA was 13.
So yeah,
that would. It's 1 to 2, 13 or 14. You're not far off.
Yeah, it's one of the two. I can't remember if this was number 9 or number 10, but it's changed a lot. The landscape's changed a lot. It's not the same show it was.
And that's the case with a lot of the big shows, I think, is,
2020, yeah, in 2021, a lot of the manufacturers didn't go, and their sales did not go down. In fact, for a lot of them, they increased, and they realized, hey, we don't need to invest $100, $200, $500,000 in this show. We can put that marketing budget somewhere else. And excuse me, I think it's played very well for them. So I think until
that's for a lot of people.
Yeah, until the organization as a whole does something, pretty cool for the manufacturers to incentivize them to come in. I think the show will probably continue to get smaller, and a lot of the guys are even cool if it gets combined with SHOT Show, which I personally think would be pretty fun. That's a massive show, and it's going on this week out in Vegas. Not that I want to go to Vegas, but I think SHOT Show as an atmosphere would be pretty cool.
A Vegas show is wild. That was my first iCast was Vegas, and yeah, everybody needs to go to Vegas for a show one time.
Yeah, I don't know. There's only one or two things that would take me to Vegas. That's just not my spot. But the what was cool was the dealers were pumped we were all there, and they were out in full force looking to bring some new products into the shop, and everything we had was well received and should be a really good year for the two companies that I was there helping.
With show season, it's good to get out and see old friends and start talking to people. It gets you fired up, especially after you've had that gap from Thanksgiving through Christmas and New Year's. For a lot of us, that's just kind of like a dead time where we don't see a lot of people, and it's all more family oriented and different things like that. So kind of get to the middle to the end of January and these shows start kicking off, man. It's kind of nice. It's kind of like you get to see the people.
Gets you out of the house on all these gray, gloomy, cold, nasty days. And yeah, it's, I mean, a lot of the guys we see at shows like that, we may see once, maybe twice a year. And it's, it's tough to get out of the booth at times, but that last day it slows down usually, and you get to slip out and get around and catch up with everybody or go out and have dinner and things like that. And it's, it's also,
you can forget how much you don't talk to people when you have to start talking to that many people at one time. It's like,
dude, my voice was shot after day one.
I feel you.
I was starting to get hoarse after day one, and just pounded the water and electrolytes and the vitamins and avoided the show crud, which was good. I didn't get sick when I got back, so I was thankful for that.
That's the main thing when you come home from a show these days.
Shaking a lot of hands, just being in close proximity with a lot of people and just talking nonstop. It wears the batteries down. So
and it does it fast.
Yeah. Well, we were hitting hard morning workouts and got over to First Form on Friday, which was a lot of fun. That headquarters it's a spectacle, man. It's a spectacle.
Spectacular.
That place is world class.
Looked like Jake was putting you guys through the ringer as well.
He ran some guys through a group workout. I had a little crew with me, and I ran them through a pretty serious upper body day, so that was fun. But
looked good. That was actually one thing I meant to talk to you about, and we never did make it there. We was on other subjects pretty quick.
Yeah, one of the really cool takeaways from that whole visit was it was a 180,000 square foot facility, and they do not have a cleaning crew that takes care of it.
Wow.
That is company culture. Leave it better than you found it. Everybody's responsible for their own space, and that place was spotless.
You can't be mad at that.
My OCD was really liking the way that gym looked. Every logo was perfectly vertical. All the weights were put back where they were supposed to be. It was beautiful.
Well, it's like my Jackson Kayak sign that's back here. That I've actually got the Jackson Kayak, like the wording lined up so it's level.
I believe it.
I've actually gotten heat over that because the wording is level,
but and the logo's not
supposed to be an angle. Yeah. But it bothers me more if I look back there and see the words are at an angle. So it's level.
No, I get that for sure. Nick and I were having a heck of a time setting up the booth because things weren't as parallel and square and straight as we would have liked them.
Gotta love show booths, man. But we're gonna rattle off thank a few people here before we bring our guest on, or people that make this happen for us. Obviously, Orion Coolers. Want to give a big shout out to them. Check out the website, jacksonkayak.com. Head over to the Orion Coolers portion. You can get you a little bit of a discount. Orion Rocks at jacksonkayak.com in the checkout, and get yourself a little Orion swag. Get some accessories. Get you a cooler. You need a new cooler. Summertime will be here, even though it's a deep freeze for a lot of people. Over the past 2 weeks, you're going to need a cooler eventually, so you might as well buy one now. Second up, Jackson Kayak, jacksonkayak.com again. Go over there, pick you out a new kayak, browse to them. Show season. Head out to your nearest show, find your local JK dealer. Talk kayaks, talk shop with some folks. Talk about all the brands. See which brand's going to fit you the best. We'd love to see any in Jackson, but hey, there's a butt for every seat in the kayak world. So get out there, try them out, and see which one fits you best. Z-Pro Lithium, got to thank those guys keeping me and Zach powered up throughout 23 and 24 now. So we got a stack of Z-Pro Lithium batteries. It's time, man. We just
I told you what I want to do with them.
I don't know how good it'd look with a 100 ampere hour battery out there, though. Squirrels might enjoy that a little too much.
I just need like a 15 amp hour, just a little one.
We don't have anything that small at the moment. We can work on it, though.
We need to work on it.
We'll work on it. Let's see. Oh, man, Cast King. We cannot forget Cast King. They kept us casting 2 years in a row now. And we're grateful for those guys in the Orion podcast. Really looking forward to getting into some big ones with those rods and reels here this coming spring. Evolve Fishing, check those guys out. Well, we've got a code for them too. Evolve Fishing, 15% off if you like the cool new rod sleeves. If you're follow me on Instagram, you can see the rod sleeves, what they're about. I just posted a little video on those. 15% off. JKT 15 will get you hooked up with the Evolve rod sleeves, and then little collaboration for me and the good folks at Garage Beer with our Orion coolers. I'm excited to have them on. It's a beer flavored beer. Yeah, hit those up. If Richard Rawlings from Gas Monkey Garage likes it, I mean, it can't be bad. I'm just saying.
I was just laughing because you said beer flavored beer.
It is. That's what it says on the can. I'll send you a picture later. It's beer flavored beer, and the garage is always open. It's beer flavored beer. What more do you want? I mean, it's beer, and it tastes like beer. It's actually really good. For those of you guys that have not tried it, it's 4%er, 95 calories. It is a classic small batch light beer. These guys are out of Ohio, and they are getting big fast. Like I said, helper Richard Rawlings and some other influencers out there have been pumping this thing up, and it has literally went from 0 to 60 pretty quick. So if you like beer flavored beer, they've got the lime flavor. We're doing lime tonight, or they've got regular light beers. So check those guys out. drinkgaragebeer.com. Find them. You'll be happy you did. Beer flavored beer.
I mean, you said you got lime tonight, so I would have assumed lime flavored beer, but
it's just beer flavored beer. Yeah. Beer flavor. No, this one says beer flavored beer with lime.
Oh, okay.
My bad. It's the other can that says beer flavored beer. And there's a basketball goal hoop in a garage. It's like you're at that 70s show on the can.
It's like you're any house in the back country in Indiana.
Yeah, in Indiana. Except the beer's made in Ohio. Don't judge us, Indiana. We're sorry. Nobody from Indiana called. It's just where it's at. Well, we've got this is kind of like a part 2 tonight. We had a lot of fun with this dude when he was on the first time. And since then, he has had new accolades come into fruition and some of the stuff we talked about in the previous episode. And now it's here. So we want to welcome back the Bassquatch Hunter, Mr. Mike. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Man, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, evening.
It's good to be back. You know that? It's going to be warm right now. I've been outside getting rained on all day today, ice fishing. So it's nice to be warm.
It is. It's just nice to be warm, period, in the Midwest right now.
Yeah.
Well, from the Midwest clear down to Texas, it's nice to be warm, I'm sure.
They were still complaining about single digits down in Tennessee today on the radio, and I was like,
We've had weird weather, but last year we only had 3 days of safe ice. So I don't want to complain about it this year because we've had a full week of safe ice this week so far. Knock on wood, we have more, but it's supposed to be in the 50s next week, and we're probably going to lose all of it. So I can't really complain about the cold. It was just miserable getting rained on the entire time I was ice fishing today.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at what everybody's saying, we're looking at a big sweep of warm weather coming through.
Yeah.
It's almost got a guy wondering, is the boat going to have to hit the water in February?
We've done it. We've done it before.
We've done it a couple times. Last year, first fish was in February. So,
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I keep my kayaks ready all year round because I never know. In Michigan, we could have open water in 2 weeks, and if we do, I'll go out for walleye and trout, and I'll do open water, cold water all day up here, and that's kind of the cool thing too is people forget one of the best fishermen, arguably the best fisherman in the history of fishing, Kevin Van Dam, is from Michigan, and he's one of the best cold water fishermen for a reason because we have cold water, open water fishing like 7 months out of the year.
Yeah.
We have lakes that are always cold water up here. So
right.
Yeah, and it's you got two of the best fishermen. I'm gonna put Zona in there too because he's a pretty bad dude.
Yeah, so especially for cold water. So him and Kevin are really good buddies. They live right by each other. They're both from the west side, and they both have Lake Michigan like in their backyard. So like their bread and butter is finding fish in cold water temps, which is one of the hardest things for anyone to do nationwide is to figure out bass behavior in the cold water temp. So like learning from those dudes is like, I got super lucky to be around at least one of them, around Kevin, for a long time before I got into this career. And I, not to like fanboy out or anything, but like I credit like any skill that I actually have. A lot of it is because of things that I've learned from listening to him talk. Yeah. He's just such a smart dude. I've always said he was like the engineer of fishing, and Mark is like the personality of fishing. Like they're two total opposite sides of the spectrum. Like Kevin doesn't have the personality Mark has, but Mark doesn't have like the engineer mentality to break down the science of fishing like Kevin does either.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of us that have sat around and spent many of hour listening to Kevin talk on either YouTube videos or TV shows. Oh,
absolutely. Well, just wait till you guys see what he's announcing something very soon, I hope, because that's killing me that I know what it is. But he's got something really big in the works right now since he is officially retiring. So, and I think it's going to be more beneficial, I should say, to the sport and everybody in it and everybody that comes into it. I think it's going to be a very I'm very, very excited for him. He's scared and nervous about it, which makes me laugh that he would be scared of something to do in this industry. But I think that his next step of the journey is probably going to be one of the most impactful in the sport in a very long time since Bill Dance.
It's a great role for somebody like him, especially to step into, because he's been around for so long, and he's gained so much from the sport itself. He's the perfect one to kind of step in with the knowledge and the experience he has to give back. So
absolutely.
Well, and that's like, you're talking about like you're retiring, and this one thing is all you've done and all you've known for so long, and it's like it would be scary for any of us. I would like to think that a lot of us accept that challenge, but at the same time, it's a scary process to go through, I would think.
Yeah. Well, he's staying in the industry. He's just doing something a little, in my opinion, more beneficial. Like being a tournament angler is obviously very beneficial to the sport, but I look at it as, when I came into this industry, I was chasing the tournament path at first because that's what everyone sees, And honestly, ironically enough, to stay on topic here too, because of a conversation I had with him back in 2013, I was lucky enough to fish on a boat with him a couple times in a few different charity tournaments we did up here. And he said something, and I actually mentioned this to him the other day when I saw him at the Ultimate Fishing Show, and he didn't remember this conversation, but I had to remind him of it because I knew that it didn't make an impact on him the way it did on me. But he made one little comment about how if he had to buy all of his own fishing gear and pay for his own tournaments, he never would be able to afford to fish. And that's when me and him talked about how he markets and promotes and how he does everything that people don't see, like all the behind the scenes stuff, the branding. And I worked with him and his wife on his branding and his merch back then. So like I knew how much he did in apparel and books and VHS tapes back then and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, you do this to get your name out there, but you do this to make a living. Like, totally understand how this dynamic works. And I never knew that beforehand. So that was kind of what helped me launch my career the way I did. Like, I feel like I rose pretty quickly in the kayak industry for not really being a kayak fisherman before that. And it was just because I kind of saw my path already. Like, I knew how to navigate. Like, I wasn't trying to make a living doing tournaments because I knew that didn't exist. I knew it's still not something that's viable yet in the sport. But I knew all these different avenues as far as marketing and promotion and how to build the brand and how that worked. So it was kind of supplying it into a new industry. And part of it was because that conversation I had with Kevin where, he sat down one day and explained it to me. And, like, you don't realize, like, Tiger Woods he loses more than he wins, So like, if you think about it, like, think about entering a $20,000 event and spending weeks preparing and the travel and the lodging and all the stuff, and then you lose. Like, let's say you walk away with $3,000, like you just lost like probably 25, 30 grand plus the time you're away from all your other stuff. So like you can't sustain that. Like it's not possible to sustain that. So learning how to, what I call spider marketing, where you have like 8 legs of marketing out there. So if one of them doesn't work out, like you don't win tournaments, then you have 7 other legs that are still running for you. Or if 2 of them break, then you still have, 6 other legs, or there's always something working. That way, it's very unlikely all 8 legs break at the same time. As long as you got one leg moving, you're still going forward, just might be slower.
Right.
And that's kind of what he started doing. So now that he's retiring from competitive fishing, he's not retiring from the industry. What he's doing next is, I think, going to be, like I said, probably one of the most impactful things in bass fishing since Bill Dance. Because Bill Dance did the same thing. Most people don't realize that Bill Dance was a tournament angler at one point. And he was like the tournament angler. He's like the first of a lot of things in tournaments. And he became a personality because he really he could make a bigger impact at that route than he could tournament fishing the rest of his life. And now we all know Bill Dance Outdoors, 57 years on the air or something, like just something absolutely insane. That dude films over 250 days a year still, saltwater and freshwater. And he's like 84 years old. It's like such a crazy milestone to be able to hit. It's insane.
Have you ever listened to the podcast with Tom Rowland and Bill Dance? It is probably one of my favorite podcasts that I've ever listened to all time.
That sounds like it would be, yeah.
Whose show was that on?
It's just good. It was on Tom Rowland's. What's his called? Gosh, can't even remember what Tom Rowland's podcast is. Every now and then I have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, I'll have to go listen to that one.
Saltwater Experience, definitely. I believe. Yeah.
Bill's big in the saltwater now.
Yeah. Saltwater Experience, Tom Rowland podcast. He's the host of the Saltwater Experience TV show, and then Tom Rowland podcast is his podcast. But very cool podcast with Bill Dance. If anybody ever gets a chance, go check that out. It is worth your listening, hearing Bill talk about like the old days with him and Johnny and getting started and stuff. It's a daggone good listen.
I bet. The one that where Dale Jr.'s podcast, the Dale Jr. download, he had Johnny Morris on a while back and talking about how Bass Pro got started and all that, selling lures out of his dad's liquor store and stuff like that. That was a really interesting one too. Kind of hearing how that all came about.
I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but my favorite Bill Dance story, like impact wise, that I've heard, and I heard this secondhand, so I don't know. I didn't hear it from Bill himself. Well, he brought it up actually, but someone finished it, so I don't know if it's accurate. So if it's wrong, don't quote me on it. So he named Strike King Lure Company. And it wasn't called Strike King, it was called Striking, like one word. And then when it sold, then they couldn't use the same name, so they separated it to Strike King is what happened. So like that's how far back Bill goes. Like I mean, like I don't remember. Like there wasn't a time in my lifetime where I don't remember Strike King being a brand. So like to think that he was the one that came up with the name, and it was Striking Lures, and it was all like this whole thing. It's like, man, like that dude was making an impact on fishing things that people like had no idea. Like the things that he's been involved in or had his hand in, it's just absolutely insane.
Well, and then not only Bill, but you've got, obviously Johnny, but you've got Al Linder, Roland, Roland Martin, and then Jimmy Houston. I mean, so in your line of where you're at, which one of those guys do you pull from, like as far as like this is the guy, this is my inspiration?
Bill Dance, 100%. Like his hat is right there for a reason. He gave me that like 4 or 5 years ago, and he wrote Mike Let's Go Fishing on it and wrote it on there, and I put it right there, and it hasn't been moved because that reminds me all the time. My family doesn't fish. Like my parents don't fish, my friends didn't fish when I was a kid, and I grew up around lakes my whole life. And my motivation to fish when I was a kid is because Bill Dance made it look fun. I can't, and I challenge anybody to tell me one fish that Bill Dance caught, like one memorable fish, and most people can't. But I ask you one memorable blooper he had, someone's got a story. Everyone remembers the snake out of the tree, or the battery that he missed the boat and fell in the lake with, or he backed his truck into the water too fast and he flew out of the boat. Like everyone remembers the entertainment of Bill Dance, and that's when I was a kid. I can't even tell you any fish that I caught when I was a kid. There's pictures of me from ages 5 until now, obviously with fish. But I can't remember any of my fish catches when I was a kid. But I can tell you 100%. I remember watching Bill Dance, and then I remember getting a rowboat and going on a lake and going fishing with my friends. I remember taking the canoe that my old neighbor gave me before he passed away when I was a kid, and I take the canoe out and go fishing. But I don't know if I caught fish, or I don't care if I caught fish or not. Like I remember the adventures and the experience of it, and that's what made me want to fish for a living in general. Was that I saw how much fun it was. I saw the entertainment of it. I saw firsthand what it could do for someone's mental health just to get out on the water, even if it's by yourself, even if none of your friends do it. You don't need your family to do it. It's almost better if you can do it by yourself, like any kind of therapeutic thing, so you're not dependent on anybody. And Bill, I think, hands down, I mean, we wouldn't have fishing as we know it today if it wasn't for what he's done. And I told his daughter at ICAST, I think 4 years ago, I said, hey, look around. And I said, see all of this? I'm like, this is because of him. I'm like, there wouldn't be an ICAST there wouldn't be a Bass Association. There wouldn't be, like, all these things literally wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for, the ringleader that was promoting it and making people want to do it. And Bill Dance was literally the forefront of that. So if I had to pick one path, I mean, I don't ever want to put my name in the same ring as him, but if I had to pick one path to follow, like one goal that is so unattainable and so unreachable that it feels weird to even say it's a goal, but I would love one day to be able to make this much of an impact compared to what he's done. If I could have a fraction of the impact on the sport or on the society as a whole, as he has, then that would be absolutely incredible. But although Jimmy Houston is like the Ric Flair of fishing, so like he does have that too. Like, he had the same haircut at least.
Yeah, for sure. No, we were talking here a while back because we saw, I think it was a reel or something on Instagram, but it had a bunch of Bill Dance bloopers in it. And we were like, can you imagine if YouTube had been around anywhere near the beginning for him? Like he'd been
the first viral video on YouTube history.
He'd be 15, 20 times as big as he is. I mean, at this point, yeah, he would have been viral for sure.
Yeah,
I have VHS tapes of his bloopers.
Yeah. He would have caught this whole young generation that is nothing but YouTube. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of us had to wait till Saturday morning to watch Bill or Bassmaster or whatever was on, and even Fisherman for Al's case. But you think about that and you look back, man, if like that niche of having everything right there at your palm would have been available back when those guys were young, holy cow. It's hard telling what it would look like now.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of grateful that it didn't do that though too at the same time, because I feel like the purity of fishing, the same thing with hunting. I mean, all the outdoors, I think part of the purity of all the outdoors and the nature and everything started because it was the 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings. It was like same thing with like, I don't know if you guys are like wrestling fans, but like when I was a kid, I was a huge like WWF wrestling. And that was on at like midnight. That was on in the middle of the night. That was on like, because there didn't used to be a 24-hour news cycle. So there was nothing on TV between like, I don't know, but like midnight till like 8 a.m. So they just aired like wrestling. Like that was what was on all the time. So that's when I watched like all my heroes back then. I got to watch the Bushwhackers and, Hurricane Kid and all those guys. And it's the same thing with outdoors. It's like, you like had to like know, it was like a secret club. Like you had to know Saturday mornings when it was on. So if you missed it, you couldn't watch it again. There was no on demand or there was no streaming back then or anything. So like you had to know it was there to specifically watch it. So you felt like you're part of like this little thing. I think that's why everyone feels so close. Like Bill Dance has a nickname, Uncle Bill. Like everyone calls him Uncle Bill because he's like part of your family. He was in your household every Saturday morning for 50 something years. And I feel like that's how that happened. And that's the purity of that, is because it's like you almost had to know it was already there to be able to know it was there. And it wasn't just available to everyone and anybody. I like that part of it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if Zach's seen this or not. Cameron Haynes' latest podcast that him and Clay Newcomb have been talking, and they're kind of referencing a lot of these things. They talk a lot about Michael Jordan, and everybody from our age group wanted to be Michael Jordan back in the day. If you stepped on a basketball court, they wanted to be Michael Jordan. And with some of the modern advancements in technology with like social and the television market that Bill helped create for even things like Bassmaster and stuff like that, there's a whole group of kids, especially now, through high school fishing and college fishing, that they want to be Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty. They want to be Polnick. They want to be Kevin. They want to be Gerald. They want to be, they have like such a fan base that they never had before. And I think, when you look back at it, it's all because of Bill that kids like us got a chance to grow up, and kids today are getting an even bigger chance to want to carry through that dream.
Yeah, it's been cool to see that, obviously when we were that age, there were a lot fewer iconic, players in those realms for us. And I think a lot of it just had to do with the availability, right? Like we watched the game when it was on. If you missed it, you missed it. You might catch a clip on the news, but that was it. And now, the highlights are nonstop between games on social and, players' accounts and things of that nature. So, kids have access to a lot more of it now than, we ever did.
That's wild to think about.
If we weren't watching the game, T-shirts, and we might have a video game on the Sega or something like that, but that was about it.
But if you didn't watch the game then, you freaking missed it. It was gone. It was over.
Yeah.
There was no going back. So, the fact that things live on now is very cool. And it's one day we won't have our Bill Dances, Roland Martins, and, all these icons that have carried us through. And, there's going to be, thanks to YouTube and video and the internet age, these guys are going to live on, I think, for a really long time.
Yeah.
So
one thing that was.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's been one thing that was cool too about, I'd mentioned the Dale Jr. download, but he had Hank Parker on a while back, and he was, Hank was telling a lot of stories about him and Dale when they'd go hunt and fish and things that Dale had told Hank that Jr. had never heard in his life. About things that his dad had said about him and stuff that he had never heard, and Hank had stories like that, and that was really, really cool because Dale Sr. was not one that a lot of people knew a whole lot about, other than what he did on the racetrack.
Yeah, they really didn't know him.
No, very few did.
So I Googled who had the first bass fishing show because I was just curious. I was like, I wonder if Bill Dance was the first. So everything that comes up, it's all Ray Scott, obviously. Ray Scott was the first. It was the first televised bass fishing event. And on the cover of the 1974 Bassmaster video, it's Bill Dance. So like, awesome. Like literally like Bill, it blows my mind. Like when you start researching any historical fishing, bass fishing, I should say, any historical bass fishing brand or organization, you'll see a picture of Bill Dance eventually on one of them, something like that dude was just, it's like we see where Kevin Van Dam is nowadays too, but you think about, like you were saying, like social media and TV and Bass Pro Shops. Bass Pro Shops was such a big platform to be able to catapult. Like I have VHS tapes and DVDs still that are the Bass Pros DVDs.
I got a stack of them over here.
Yeah, and those are awesome. I used to watch those like religiously. Volume 3 was Kevin Van Dam, actually, because that's what I watched most. But that was a huge platform. Like Bill had none of that existed. Like there was no Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop, like big mecca bass fishing stores like that at the time. There was no, like, if you look at his old like vest that he wore with his patches on it and stuff, it was like, mom and pop shops and stuff like that. And like his boat decals were like hand painted lettering of like, what bait shops were around kind of thing. Like it's such a cool, it's such a cool thing, man. Like, and to think of where we are today, to think that like we're at a place now where, bass fishing is at a point where someone like me could quit my job and make a career out of it. Even like that none of that will exist if it wasn't for like so many people, like not just Bill, not just Kevin, not just, Jordan Lee and Houston, and like there's such a variety of people that had to build these stepping stones for people like me and people who come after me to be able to even look at this and be like, okay, there is like a big enough industry to have a career,
Yeah.
It's crazy,
man. Mentioning those old boats and sponsors and stuff like that. How cool would it be with some of the cool graphic artists that are out there now? If somebody just had their boat all done by hand instead of a wrap.
All hand. Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
That'd be so sick.
It'd be a cherry, that's for sure.
Yeah, until you scrape across something, it all comes off on the side of a river. That's the one thing. Like,
they go to sell it.
Everyone always asks me, like, why don't you wrap your kayaks? I'm like, have you seen my kayaks? Like, a wrap wouldn't last more than like a month. Like, there's no way. The whole side of it would get scraped off.
Because we like skinny water. That's why we fish in plastic boats.
And I beat mine up
water, and I just do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I remind people too, like my kayaks get broken so much more than people think because I take out beginners. Like my show is based around getting someone in their first time in a kayak. So like, they run into everything. They, break stuff. They overturn things. They turn things the wrong direction. Like things get broken so often in my kayaks. I mean, my rudder cables break constantly because people just overturn and just try to like crank it and think it'll turn further. And like, I break handles off. I like the side of my kayaks get gouges on them because people don't realize like, hey, if you go up against this tree or go up against this metal pole that's sitting in the water, they just bump into it and like, oh, it's plastic. Like people are thinking like, when people buy kayaks, they're usually like, big box store, cheap kayaks, and they just beat them up. And, no second thought. Like these kayaks aren't like that, so like mine get beat up so bad.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, things that you learn just by doing, and a lot of folks haven't, so they just don't know. Lack of knowledge.
I ain't gonna lie. I dragged my Coosa X across the driveway the first day I took it out. Just, it's just like I'm gonna use it, and we're here to test these boats, so I just drug it. I drug it to the truck, threw it in the truck, and then I drug it down the boat ramp. It happens. New boat
I sell mine every year or so. So like I try to baby as much as I can because I won't sell a kayak. Like I've got 2 kayaks in my backyard that they still float, but I wouldn't give them to anybody for free even because I just don't trust it. Like, too many issues where I'm like, that's a little thin over there, or that hole isn't really fixable, or I patched it and the patch isn't like not a spot where you want to patch, like a sidewall of a tire kind of thing where you're like, you can patch it, but I wouldn't trust it, So like I baby my kayaks the best I can because even babying them, I lose at least one a year like that, like where I just can't do anything with it, where it's like scrap.
Right.
Or it becomes like, my buddy's kayak when he comes out with us and it's like controllable. But like to use it in the show, I have to make sure it's 100% solid. And then I try to get rid of them every year because I get new ones every couple of years. So, but yeah, it's hard to baby them. Just like you said, like I like to use them, I like to be rough with them. I like to drag them over stuff. I like to, abuse all my gear. Like I use my fishing rods the wrong way plenty of times. I purposely push gear to its limit because I just, we work with brands directly. So I want to know where limits are and I want to be able to get feedback.
You gotta have something to push off a log with.
Yeah. That's what fishing rods are for, right? That's why they make medium heavies.
Yeah. No, I do keep my big water boats. I keep them pretty good. I will honestly admit I clean those every time they go out and try to put the Lucas oil wax on them and keep them shined up. But my Coosa X and I have a completely different relationship. She still looks good at this point, but she gets drug around a little bit. It's the riverboat. It's supposed to be beat on. That's what riverboats are for. It's a good paddle rig.
For. Yeah.
You gotta have a paddle rig.
Yeah.
You got a paddle rig in your stable, Mike?
I actually do not anymore.
Wow.
My neighbor bought my Moken 12 was my paddle rig, and I loved that boat. And my neighbor was like, he was renting kayaks all the time, and he was like, dude, he goes, do you have one I could buy, please? I'm like, I had that one for the longest I've ever had a kayak. I think I had it for 3 seasons. And I was like, man, this one's like, it looks like it was chewed on. I'm like, this One is like, especially like, you know how it is your paddle kayak when you have all pedal drives. Your paddle one's the one that you beat the living crap out of. Like that's the one. Like because you take it in places where you can't take a pedal drive, so like it's gonna get beat up. So I told him, I was like, hey man, like he's a big dude too. I'm like, hey, it floats. There's no holes in it. There's some gouges that are pretty deep. I'll go through with the heat gun. I'll seal everything. I'm like, it's a beast. I said, but if you ever sell it, I'll buy it back off you. I'm like, exactly what you paid for it. I'm like, just that's all I ask, because that's like my baby. I'm like, but I don't really use it anymore, so I'm okay with it. So I gave it to him for really, really, really cheap, with the hopes that he'll honor that and sell it back to me for the same price whenever he wants to, if he ever wants to get rid of it. But I mean, I see that thing thrown on his backyard all the time, and I would cringe, and I'm like, I never leave my kayaks outside either, ever. My kayaks are always stored indoors, or in my enclosed trailer. So like even leaving a kayak outside like really makes me uncomfortable. So I don't even.
Yeah, and hey, these days you gotta, when they're your tools for work, you kind of want to have them the next day too. So it's nice to have them stored up and out of the way.
Well, totally natural segue here, but I want to mention something really
back
cool
to
here.
you.
So,
we've been talking about Bill. Let's get to you.
Hey, Bill's way cooler than me. A year ago in March 2023, so almost a year ago, I did probably the coolest thing I've ever done in my life, my most proudest moment. And I wrote my first children's book. It's something I wanted to do for so long. And I wanted to make a children's book that was kind of like my TV show, but more of like the kids version of my TV show. But I want it to be the same message, the same mission statement, like the same feel of my show, because I have a huge kid audience for my show too. So I came up with this book. I think I mentioned this last time too when we were on here. But it's called The Adventures of Sasquatch. And it's all about a Sasquatch that was in the woods and always afraid of humans or anyone different than him. And then one day a human came back in a paddle kayak that happened to be the same color as mine too, and came back in the woods and ended up meeting the Sasquatch. And they were like, holy crap, a human, like, holy crap, a Sasquatch. And then he's like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, I'm back here fishing because I have a kayak so I can get back in the woods where no one else can go, like where the Sasquatches are hiding. So he learns how to fish, catches the first Sasquatch sized bass he's ever seen. So they called it a Bassquatch naturally. And then the fisherman gave him a nickname and said, hey, let's call you the Bassquatch Hunter from now on. And now you can go out and see what we've been missing all this time by hiding in the woods. And you can teach other people how to fish, and you can let them know how you got the nickname, the Bassquatch Hunter. So then every single day, Seth, our character Seth, leaves the woods and wants to meet a new human, learn some new things, and then teach them how we got the nickname, the Bassquatch Hunter. So in the first book, which this one just came out like a month or so ago, this is the adventure of Sasquatch, the race car driver. So in our first episode I ever did of my show, with the current format, we filmed with the Rookie of the Year NASCAR driver, and I learned how to race cars, and I got to go to the race and got to like learn like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And then I got to teach him how to fish out of a kayak for his first time. And that's kind of what inspired the show trajectory that we went on. And it also is what the books are all based on. So every book is based off a real experience, a real guest, a real thing that I learned, and a real thing that I taught. And it's really, really cool. So this one, he meets a race car driver. And this is a super cool story because it's not just about learning how to race cars. It's also learning how to stay focused and not be distracted and be determined, and how to work hard. How to have fun, how to learn something that someone else is passionate about, and then how to have a blast doing it, as you can see. But also he teaches them how to catch fish. One of my favorite images that my illustrator did, I got to show you this because I know you guys will appreciate this too. He was fishing near lily pads because what he learned was that fish like to hide where lily pads are because of structure. But look at that frog right there. That frog makes me laugh every time. No idea why he drew it like that, but like the fish is cool, like the huge bass is awesome. Obviously, that frog gets me every time.
The frog is great.
Dude, it's every time I read this book to like kids or anything, I start laughing before I finish that page. But it's such a cool story. And then in every book, there's a journal entry that Seth writes, and then there's a map of where they fished. And it's also our board game that'll be coming out again this year. We're going to re-release it this year. Then there's a journal for the kids to write about their own adventures, and then a coloring page that tells you what the next book is about, which I am actually literally writing right now. I was working on it today. The third book, he meets a comedian and learns how to tell jokes and learns how to make things that might be sad or tough, learns how to make them funny, and learns how laughter kind of cures a lot of things. So he learns how to tell jokes and learns, all this cool stuff. Then he teaches the comedian how to fish for his first time too. So those books are all available at sethsquatch.com. I'll put it in the comments right here. But it's seth-squatch.com, and that's where you can find a lot of our merch and stuff for the books. It won't let me type a link.
I got you.
But it's seth-squatch.com.
And for those of you that have not checked out the books, I highly recommend it. We actually purchased the first one, and my wife and I have both read the book, and it's amazing. Yeah, you done the attention to detail in the books is phenomenal. I got to give you credit on that firsthand. The board games, just everything about the book, the stickers, all of it is just the picture. It's just, dude, you have paid so much attention to detail, and the interaction that a child will have with that book is truly amazing. So props to you on that. It is a phenomenal piece of work.
Thank you very much. And that means a whole lot to me, because I read to over 1,000 kids in 2023 with the first book. And my biggest thing that I took away from that, besides, I don't know, do I have them out here still? Right here.
Yes,
besides the ridiculous amount of like thank you notes that I get from these kids, which is like the coolest thing in the world. They tell me what their favorite part of the books were, and they draw little pictures of Seth and stuff. Most of the feedback I get is how they learn not to be afraid of people that are different than them. They learn that maybe they should share what they're passionate about with their friends. Maybe they should try new things. All this feedback is just absolutely amazing, because that was the whole goal of these books. It's kind of the goal of my TV show too. It's just, I want people to get out and try new things. And I'm so passionate about that, is just get out of your comfort zone, try something new. If you're depressed, or if you're down, or you're going through a struggle, like we all have battles and struggles every single day. The best way to take on anything, if you think about it in a visual form, if you're driving on the freeway and there's a big barricade in front of you, like a big obstacle, the best thing you could do, the most, rewarding thing you could do is find a way around it, not ram into it 75,000 times. It's find a way around it and then keep on moving. And that's it. So in the books, I've noticed a lot of these kids, like the interact page, and I've noticed a lot of these kids afterwards will come up to me, or they'll write me letters, or the teachers will tell me that the biggest thing they took away was like, yeah, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be afraid of this or that, or, maybe I should learn this. And I'm like, you know what, you have no idea, like that message that you learned, you might think is meaningless right now. But in 10 years, when you have like a real obstacle, when you're a teenager and you have like these real obstacles, these real struggles, if you can remember that, if one person out of 1,000 kids that I read to remembers that, hey, I can just go around this and it's okay. Like I can try new things, because I remember Seth tried something new and he was scared of humans his whole life. And look what it did to him. Now he's got all these adventures and he's got the whole thing. You know what I mean? And it's kind of the same thing I did. Like, not to get too preachy on here, but it's the same thing I did. Like, I was in a huge dark spot of my life, and I literally quit my job with $500 my savings account and no plan whatsoever. And I chased this career, and I said, give me a year, and if I can't find a way to make any money doing this, if I can't find a way to get a paycheck in this industry in 1 year, then I'll go back to my day job and I'll put my tail between my legs, and it is what it is. And within 8 months, I was making money, not much, but I was getting paid monthly. And I found all these different avenues and all these different things. And it's so important that like people know that there's ways out of those dark holes. It takes a little teeny bit of light to get out of the darkness. Darkness only exists if there's zero light. So a little teeny bit of light, a little teeny bit of hope, a little teeny bit of direction can get you out of the most craziest things in your head sometimes. And that's what my career has done for me. And that's what I hope, by sharing everyone else's career in my show, whether it's an Olympic athlete or a dairy farmer or the penguin the zoo who her passion's been penguins her whole life. Showing off those careers and letting people know that you can make a change, you can chase your dreams, you can do what makes you happy, you can get around that obstacle, you can meet new people that are different than you can try new things. Like all those messages are all so ingrained in these books and my show and everything I do, all my branding. And I like I said, if one person out of 10 million and something impressions we have a year takes that advice and makes a change in their life, then I feel like that's what changing the world really is. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I mean, I think this past month and a half, just the thought process that you have and the thought process that Zach and I talk about our thoughts quite a bit. And, that's so what you're telling people is so huge. There is light, and sometimes you got to take a little bit of a leap of faith, and it is hard. It is hard.
Oh, yeah. Scary.
But if you but I think if you start surrounding yourself with the right group of people, that like tonight, I hope that somebody out there that's listening to this is feeding off of your creativity. I think that's one of the things Zach and I have kind of been talking about a little bit. Just feeding off of your passion, your creativity. And I hope they walk away inspired from that. And that's exactly why Zach and I wanted to do this podcast in this format. Yeah, Mike, you fish out of a Feel Free. I fish. This is a Jackson channel. We don't care.
I don't care. I don't care either. They're all different vehicles that all get us to where we want to go.
It's right. But your story is epic, and the least that we can do as brands and collaboratives is come together and share those impressive moments, because it takes us all at a point and just fires us up to be together. And no matter how you do it, as long as you're out there and inspired, I think that's a big thing, man. And if we inspire one person with these podcasts, I think then, we've done something great.
Absolutely. And I always say that trying to change the world is probably one of the most intimidating things to think about, but changing your world around you is something that's so easy. Like it sounds weird, but like you can go pay for someone's coffee tomorrow morning and it could change their entire outlook on life. And it could make them pay for the person behind them who's having the worst day they've ever had and contemplating something really, scary that day. And it could change their whole path. Like you can make little changes in your little world so easily that when you think about making an impact on the whole world, it doesn't seem so scary anymore. You just got to keep doing it for a very long time and it spreads. And it just, I always say that you can make a big ripple with a little rock. And that's literally what I live by. I mean, I do pay it forward stuff like multiple times a week, like all year long. And it's surprising me when I see someone like overreact, as like not really overreact, but like react way more dramatically than I would expect for something small that I would see as small. Like, hey, I paid for your coffee at Starbucks. That's $5. Like, not a big deal, buddy. Like, but people have cried because of it. And it's like, man, you must have been going through something. Like, you know what I mean? Like right. You must have had something else because it wasn't the coffee. And there's times like during my 12 days of Fishmas where I, pay for people's food at a restaurant, like the whole entire restaurant, or go to Walmart and pay for everyone's groceries. There's times where people break down to me after those things. And I'm just like, man, if you only knew how easy it was for me to do this, because I look forward to this every year. Like this is easy for me. But like what it did to you was not easy. Like what it did to you was it caused you to break down into a perfect stranger. And I've had people cry on my shoulders. And I had a guy when I was doing a gas station one during my Fishmas giveaways. I had a guy that sat there for about an hour telling me his life story about how he was in jail and how his family disowned him. And like, it was like this crazy, like I wish I could have recorded it just so I could have wrote a book about it or something. Like this dude's, and he just like confessed his life story. And I'm like, yeah, I just paid for your gas, bro. Like everything's cool. Like, but like it hit him in a spot where he just felt compelled to let me know how hard his life has been for 60 something years and how nobody has been there for him, his family, his friends, or anything. So it's like, when I left there, I was like, man, like paying for his tank of gas wasn't that big of a deal to me, but that made that much of an impact where that dude just reflected on 60 something years of his life. You know what I mean? Like,
you never know what people are going through on the other side.
No. And we can do so much with so little. And that's what's cool about like having, like, I love coming on your podcast because I love that you guys let me just like go off on this stuff, which is awesome. But like but like every platform has an opportunity to make an impact, and some people don't use it correctly and some people abuse it, whatever. But like, I love coming on your guys' podcast because we get to actually, like, you know, I feel like, you know, it's my second time on here and I feel like I get a little bit preachy sometimes, but I feel like there's one person that it impacts. I don't know who, but I know someone hears it and it might spark them to, maybe they just repeat it to somebody else that needs to hear it. It doesn't matter, but eventually it makes an impact. And that's such a cool thought, you know, to think that, like, we fish out of plastic boats. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, my career is just my vehicle to have a platform. That's all it is. Like, fishing is not like my biggest thing in the world. Like, you know, I've been on bowling leagues for 12 years and, you know, like, I don't have bowling stuff all over my house. You know what I mean? Like, I played hockey for 36 seasons in a row. I'm not making a career out of hockey. Like, fishing was just my vehicle to have a platform to make a difference and to do what I want to do. And that's why I preach in my show. Like, it's not about me. It's not about my guests. It's the fact that I followed my dreams to do what I want to do to be happy. My guest, whether they're an athlete or a dairy farmer or a country singer or whatever they are, they followed their dreams to be happy too. And everyone's so different, but guess what? We all have one thing in common. We took that leap. We took that risk. We took that chance. And now we have peace. Like, now we have the ability to make impacts on other people's lives because we followed our dreams. We're not miserable at an office job making no impact. We're going out doing things. You know what I mean? And it's not hard to do. And you can do it at any age. I did it in my 30s. Like, you can do it at any age, any time of your life. It doesn't matter. You just got to take that risk, to invest in yourself, and just really realize that, you know, what you're doing it for. And if you just never lose sight of that, you can't fail. Like, you can't. Like, I could lose my show tomorrow. I could lose everything I have, and I can still follow that same path to make impacts in people's lives. I'll just find another way to do it. You know, so like,
it'll come right back.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Now, 2024 shows, like, as far as airings and stuff like that, have you guys started airing your 2024 season?
No. I have my schedule. We start airing in, I don't have it memorized only because, so Discovery Channel and Pursuit Channels are two cable outlets we air on, our two main platforms, and they're two completely different schedules. Because Discovery Channel has this thing, they call it Shark Week, but it's really Shark Month and a Half. So it used to be a week when I was a kid. I remember it was a week. Now it's literally 6 weeks, and when they do Shark Month, they don't do any other programming.
So my daughter loves Shark Month.
Oh my God, I do too. and you know what's crazy about Shark Month is they film that a year to 2 years in advance.
Yeah,
so
it's nuts.
Like, it's
absolutely
such a big deal. It's such a big. All right, so I have. Oh, here's Pursuit. So for Pursuit Channel, we air Saturday at 7:30 p.m., which is, we've always aired that day. That's our main anchor slot. Then we repeat air Monday at 3:30 p.m., Wednesday at 9 a.m., and Friday at 2 p.m. And we start airing April, the first week of April. And then we go to September. On Pursuit or Discovery Channel, we start in May. But then we take 6 weeks off of airtime for Shark Month, and that's what I'm trying to find. And I don't see that schedule, because that schedule is tricky, because that one's really hard for me to remember because we take 6 weeks out. I know it starts in May. We air on Saturday mornings, and it starts in May. But then it takes a 6 week break and we air till November. But we air Saturday mornings, which was kind of, as we talked about earlier, was kind of a meaningful airtime for me because I wanted to kind of air on Saturday mornings when I used to watch Bill dance on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me, so I'll have to find that. But it is on the website. It's on BassquatchHunter.com. I did put it on there as soon as that popped up. Nope, it's not there either.
I don't know about I don't know about Pursuit, but is Discovery uploading either of their streaming platforms, either through Max or the Discovery app?
Yeah, so Pursuit Channel airs on Pursuit Up as well, 90 days after it airs on cable. So you can get Pursuit Up is free on your phones, TVs, everywhere, Roku, everywhere.
Samsung Plus.
Yeah, Samsung Plus TV or Samsung TV Plus. Actually, it's called a fast channel, which I didn't know any of this stuff until a couple of years ago. If you have a Samsung Smart TV or a Vizio Smart TV, you automatically have the Pursuit channel for free. On their home screen of apps, there's like their own little cable thing, and Pursuit channel's free. So it's really cool. You can watch it on there live or on the app and recorded. Now, Discovery Channel is a whole lot different. So they Discovery Go is a free app, and we air on there, I think 60 days after it airs live on cable. And then this year, which is kind of a big announcement, we are the first bass fishing show in history to air on a mainstream streaming platform. We're on Discovery Plus, which is huge for us. We're the first kayak fishing show in history to be on there as well. So it was a really big deal. We're actually the first bass fishing, kayak fishing show to be on Discovery Channel at all. We're the first kayak fishing show to be on Discovery Plus, and we're the first fishing show to have an Emmy nomination that we got this year as well. So we're trying to keep on breaking some barriers here and opening doors. So behind us, we can kind of welcome more. I'm hoping that there's a crap load of kayak fishing shows on all these platforms and getting Emmy nominations and winning Emmys. Hopefully we just submitted to Emmys yesterday. I submitted. So the Emmys are weird, just like the Oscars and the Grammys and all the awards. You submit to them, then judges all over the world go through to see if you are worthy of a nomination even. And then if you get nominated, you get to go to it, and then hopefully you win. So last year we got nominated, which was awesome. We got to go to the Emmys. It was so cool. This year we submitted. I submitted as a host and as the show. So knock on wood here. Hopefully I get to go to the Emmys this year. But anyway, so Discovery Plus, we don't know when we start airing yet on there because it's brand new. This is like a brand. They've never aired fishing shows like this. This is something so new for them. So as far as I know, it'll air 30 days. And I'm not positive on this yet. This is what they've told us so far. 30 days after it airs on cable, it'll be on Discovery Plus. Since Discovery Plus is not a free platform, it's subscription based, it'll be on there forever. So you can binge the whole season. It'll just be on there. And Pursuit Up also has our last 3 seasons as well. So you can go through and kind of binge if you want, but Discovery Plus is such a big platform. It won't be on Max. So Max and Discovery Plus merged because Disney owns Discovery and Disney bought Max. Right. But they only merged their primetime content like Naked and Afraid and all that stuff. So all the shows that aren't owned, like Discovery Channel doesn't own my show. They didn't buy my show. I didn't sell my show. I refused to sell my show. So they don't own my content. They don't own my show. So they can't merge it with all the other stuff. So it won't be on Max, which I'm totally okay with, obviously. Right. It'll be on Discovery Plus though. But we also air on, tell me I have this page. So we air on all these platforms. So we air like literally on any cable platform you can think of. There's a version of our show either on Discovery or Pursuit Up or Discovery Go or something. So we air all over the place. And then obviously we park everything on YouTube because YouTube is like if someone doesn't have streaming, doesn't have cable, doesn't have anything, I'm assuming there's YouTube around at least. So we put everything on YouTube after it's on cable and everything.
Right. No, that's awesome.
You can head over to the Bassquatch YouTube channel, and there's a good group of stuff on there.
Yeah, I found out that I only posted 42 videos in all of 2023. And everyone always asks me, like a lot of kids especially, like, how come you don't have more YouTube subscribers? And I'm like, I know why now. I'm like, I posted 42 videos out of 365 days, and that's not how you get on the good side of the algorithm on YouTube. I'm like, I don't do social media enough. I do Facebook a lot. I do Instagram a lot. I don't do anything else. My TikTok is terrible. My Twitter is terrible. Like I'm really bad at that stuff. So we actually, a couple big things that happened in the last month, actually, or a few months here that I haven't really publicly talked about yet. So I started my own production company. Bassquatch Productions is my new production company. I started that last year, actually. A little over a year ago now. So started in 2022, but now that is who owns my show. And I hired a whole new crew. We just hired 5 new people last month, actually, to add to the crew. So I hired people for social media and content. So coming into 2024, we'll actually have like every episode will have a trailer, we'll have teasers, we'll have a whole group of social media clips out of it. It'll be done right. So I'll actually be able to have the content to post now, because I do so many jobs myself that I haven't had time to focus on those things. And I know I've been lacking, and people want that content. People love the blooper reels. I started posting a few, but I haven't had time to do them all. So now I have someone that I hired specifically doing blooper reels and doing the outtakes and doing all that stuff, because again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm really heavily inspired by Bill Dance and the impact he made on me. So I will have blooper reels out, because there's so many of them in fishing. Trust me, there's so many. Most of my guests hold their fishing reels upside down. And I love that we capture that on camera, because it's such a meme in fishing, to have or reeling the rod or the bait all the way to the first eyelet, like all the things that we make fun of as fishermen. Like when you teach people that have never held a fishing pole, like I've had guests catch pike before that reel the pike all the way to the front eyelet of the rod, and the pike's biting the rod, and they lift it up and try and just hold it up in the air because they don't know what to do. And never has a rod broken doing that, which is amazing, or has a line broken. But it's one of the funniest things to look at as a fisherman, because I'm like, man, that's funny, but wait till I go in your world and I have to try to do what you do, and I'm going to look just as dumb, if not dumber. Like the figure skaters, when I took them fishing last year or 2 years ago, I laughed at them because we went ice fishing, and to me, ice fishing is so boring. Like, because it's just, you don't move, and they were like freaking out about fish, about bluegill, and I was like, geez, man, this is hilarious. Ha. Well, then I went in their world, and I'm trying to like do like ballet stretches with them, and by the time we're done doing warm ups, before we even put skates on, I was pouring sweat. I was sore. I was tired. And I was like, I'm like, this is like embarrassing. Like, this is like, and then we put on figure skates. Now I've played hockey for 36 years. I'm a pretty darn good skater. Figure skates are not hockey skates. And man, did I fall so many times, and I had to lift this girl up in the air and try to do like this crazy stuff. And I was so scared of dropping her that like I hurt myself so bad so many times. And I was like, all right, I get it now. And that's kind of like, and that was one of the episodes that like kind of smacked me in the face, where I'm like, it's not funny to make fun of people who can't fish, because I can't do what they do either. So our bloopers are funny because a lot of them are kind of making fun of ourselves. Like a lot of them are like, if I bird's nest in an episode, I hope we get it on camera, because I want to show people like I do it too. Like I fish all the time. I bird's nest all the time still. I cast and hook something behind me or hook my jacket all the time. Like I do dumb stuff. I do the same things that everyone else does, but I do it more frequently because I do it more. So like I do stupid stuff all the time. And it is so funny to me how many mistakes I make. But I want to share those with everybody because it's normal. Like, and I film on public water for a reason. So if we skunk, we skunk. Like I want everyone to watch my show and be like, hey, if I went fishing for the first time, that's a realistic expectation of what it would be like. And then if I want to try working at a dairy farm for the first time, that's a realistic expectation because it's my first time doing it, and I did terrible at it. And I was scared of cows. I didn't know I was scared of cows until you stand next to a 1,200-pound cow and realize they're like huge animals. And when they hit you or bump into you, they don't know you're there. So it's like people like, and I actually found out the stat the day we filmed, more people die from cows than they do from car accidents in some states. Like,
I can see it.
That's the weirdest stat in the world. And I was like,
it's got to be Wisconsin, right?
I don't know. But the dairy farmer told me this, and I was like, oh, cows kill people? Like, I didn't know that was a thing. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, because they don't know you're there. Like, they're so big and powerful, they'll trample you and they don't know it. They'll fall on you and kill you, and they won't even know you're there. They don't feel you. And I was like, well, and we're jumping in this pen with 55 of these cows. You're about to tell, like, this is great. This is awesome. And it's true. Like, they turn their heads and it lifts you off your feet. It's the weirdest thing. But either way, like, that's what we do in our show is we teach people how to do stuff that they've never done. And then I have to learn how to do what they do that I've never done, just to show everybody how cool it is to try new things, and that you shouldn't be scared of it, because I can fail at it or I can do great at it. Or that this person could be a natural at fishing the first time, or they could be terrible and never want to do it again. But we all tried something that someone else is passionate about, and that's the important part of it.
Yeah.
Well, from both of us, I think we want to first off wish you congratulations on your new production company. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. That was a huge step for me, because now I'm also able to help other people. I'm starting some other TV shows. I have some friends that wanted their own TV shows, and they have great platforms and they have great ideas. And now I have a crew and I have the ability to be able to use my connections and use what I've learned and say, all right, let's do a pilot. Let's do a sizzle reel. Let's get all the stuff together and let's put a media kit together and let's pitch it. And let's see if we can build it up and let's start a show and, just keep on going. We got a couple irons in the fire right now. And who knows, maybe, Bassquatch Productions will have, 10 or 15 TV shows that we help launch and help get them to where they want to be. And, they can go their own way or do whatever. But, not only that, but also I have Cedar Tree Media, which is my publishing for my books because I'm self-published. So I'm also been coaching a few people on writing children's books as well, because I'm learning a whole lot as I go. And if I can pass it on and help someone else do it, then awesome. So the last 12 months has been one of those things where I'm really focusing on upward growth. And like I mentioned earlier, that 8 legs of spider marketing kind of thing, I'm putting as many legs out there as I can because I want to make an impact and I want to help people build them up. And I've always said this joke too, where, climbing Mount Everest is cool, but nobody does it by themselves. Like, you don't want to go up to the top of a mountain by yourself. You want to have a party. You want to bring everybody with you and celebrate. So I want to do the same thing. If I climb a mountain, I'm bringing anybody who wants to. If you have enough ambition to make that climb and not give up, then we're going to party together on the top. And if I have to pave the way, fine. If I have to use resources, fine. But I want to bring everybody up with me.
That's an awesome way to look at it. I wish more people looked at it that way. And I know Zach does too.
Yeah. Well, Zach, in your industry, man, I thought people were bad in the outdoor industry, but I've been working in the firearm industry a whole lot. And man, that's a different world. When you get into the hunting world, it's not the same as fishing. Like kayak fishermen, I feel like are it's like hockey players. Some of the nicest people. There's some bad apples everywhere, but it's hard to I could travel to any state and just be like, oh, there's a kayak fishing tournament going on. I'm going to show up and just say hi to everyone. And everyone's pretty cool. You can't do that in the hunting world the same way. People aren't as welcoming, I've learned. And I've worked with some of the biggest gun manufacturers out there doing video work for them. And I've done photo shoots with them and stuff and gun reviews and stuff like that. And man, I'm trying to help some people right now in the gun industry and firearm industry right now with, doing some TV stuff. And they work a lot differently.
Yeah, I haven't.
I feel kind of for that.
I haven't broke into the firearm side yet. It's something I would like to do as far as media creation work wise, but as far as the archery side goes, they're just salty. Yeah, it's real similar to the kayak side. It's just for the most part just salt of the earth, good dudes who just want to go shoot their bow. So
okay, I just feel like it wasn't really necessarily bows versus guns. It was more of the hunting world. People are very they don't want to share anything. There's a lot of gatekeepers.
It depends on what you're asking for.
Yeah, that's
if you're asking you're asking for their hunting spot, they're not going to give that up. But
yeah,
for the most part, just about everybody will help. With shooting technique or
sure.
Just gear questions or things like that in general. But there's like you said, there's bad apples in every group.
Yep, definitely. But I think it's cool that there's still that core, even people at the top of archery, even if you look at Cameron Haynes and you look at some of the bigger names, they actually reach out to people and help them a lot. There's a lot of uplifting in the community, which is cool. I've just seen a lot of the brands don't work together like they do in the fishing world. They don't. They're very competitive, and they keep that competitive wall up. Where in the fishing world, you'll see a Feel Free guy on a Jackson podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel like you see that a lot. And from what I've seen, at least, you don't see that a lot in the hunting world where they're willing to cross promote and willing to be there's no competition in the kayak world that I see. When you look at the people, when I was told we were doing that panel with me, and I should have looked up his name, me, Drew Gregory, Gene Jensen, and someone else. And I'm Alex Rudd.
Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't think of his name earlier. So, and great dude too, man. And all four of us are so different in the industry, but we're not competitors in any way whatsoever. You know what I mean? There's no competition. You know what I mean? We all have different things that we do. And, at the end of the day, we all want to make a living in this industry, but at the same time, there's no none of us have feelings of being competitors. Like I've had personal conversations with everybody, and there's no way that anyone is like intimidated by anyone. You know what I mean? And I like that about our industry. I feel like it's a very unique thing. When I was in the bass boat world, it definitely was not like that. In the kayak world, it's definitely like that. And the hunting world, from the little bit that I've been involved in it, I've noticed that there are a lot of competitive walls up where, a lot of these brands don't like, no, you can't do this with that, or you can't do that with this, or you can't. I'm just like, whoa, man, like, why can't you both use each other's platforms? Like, it's just weird to me, I'm like spoiled with like the kayak fishing industry or the fishing industry in general, I should say, where most people, the people in it at least, are just like, yeah, like, here's a bait, try this, and throw it to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so normal,
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of depends, I think, but there's definitely aspects of that, in the industry. I definitely agree with that, but
yeah, I think I'm an outsider in the industry too, so it's a lot different the way I look at it, I guess, too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Different perspective. We were just talking about the beginning of the podcast. I mean, this ATA show this year was I think my 9th. So been around it for a minute, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just like everything else. I think you're still, you're still growing and making those new connections. It's just like when, you started out in fishing. I think it's just that those first steps of breaking into something different and new, and just getting to know and meet the right people. And I think once you get there, it all works together. I'm lucky enough through Zach and some of it that I've got to meet people on both sides, and that's kind of cool. Something that you don't get very, very usually.
Yeah, normally. Definitely. Yeah, I got lucky, and I've been doing video work for a media company for, probably like 5 or 6 years. And I do all their gun review videos and stuff. So I've gotten to work with, Ruger and Springfield and Colt.
Oh, cool.
And, did a Colt video a couple days ago, and I've been in magazines for them and did all the stuff with them. And like, it's cool because once you get to know these people in the companies, like, the people are amazing. Like, really cool people. And even all the smaller brands, like, the people are cool, but the brands themselves, I feel like, have that weird competitive wall. And it's just, maybe it's just the industry. It's a bigger industry than the fishing world, obviously. And it's also a way more regulated industry, and it's got more of a negative connotation to it than fishing does. So, like, there's a lot more to it that, I do know and don't know. So I'm sure that's probably where that, like, that wall I'm feeling is probably coming from, is probably because there's a lot of and there's a lot of proprietary stuff in firearms and in that world, I guess, where there's not that in the fishing world. You know what I mean? Like,
there's
not as much
I mean, with all the regulation and everything, like you said, it could be just the competition for market share in general is that much higher, and maybe that's what drives a lot of it too. I don't know. I've not been on the firearm side yet, but that's an interesting look at it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well,
I don't want to keep on question.
Yep, go ahead.
I had a question though pop in my small brain while you were talking, and it's, I got to ask it because you kind of said something. We're gonna see a Bassquatch cartoon. You misspoke and you didn't think I caught it, did you?
So if you come to the Indiana Trade Show in mid-February, I'll be there both weekends, and you come to the Bassquatch booth, which is the coolest booth by far, at least I think so, but I'm very biased. There is a TV screen there that will be playing a variation of a Bassquatch cartoon. And we haven't talked about it publicly ever. Me and my buddy, who's my illustrator, my artist and everything. But it's something so that's what I started with before I did the books, before we did the board games. It was the cartoon. The cost of animation is what stopped that pretty quickly. So we had like a 60-second version made just so we could see Seth in motion and kind of see like how it looked. So we did a 60-second animation, 90-second animation of our character, Seth, and it was about the board game. And we're like, okay, let's just have the video of the board game and just see how that looks and stuff. Well, it looked amazing, and it came out really, really good. And so when I mentioned I started my production company, my first project with the production company was going to be the cartoon, and it ended up going in a totally different direction. So our plan in 2024 is to figure that out. I do want to do a cartoon. There's a huge demand for it. We're talking about doing like 8 to 12 minute shorts because 21-minute cartoons aren't really where I want to be at. 21 minutes is a full length, that's like a TV episode.
Right.
So we're looking at like 8 to 12, looking at shorts, which means 2 of them would air in one time slot if we air them on TV. So, which like a lot of like, Paw Patrol does that sometimes, like a lot of shows do that. So there is one in the works, but I think I want to finish. We have 13 books planned right now in the children's book series.
Oh, wow.
We could do up to 47 of them because they're all based off real episodes of the show, and we've got about 47 episodes. So if we do a book for every episode, we could technically do 47, but I want to get the first 13 books done that we have on a list, and those 13 books will be the first 13 episodes because we can take these books once they're full finished products. Now we have, so for example, like this race car driver book, we now have images of like Seth being excited to drive a race car, and then we have Seth in a race car. Like we have all these images.
You got your board.
Yeah,
you've got your board ready to go.
Our story, exactly. So once the book is finished, we have a full colorized storyboard, and we also have the script because it's already written. We also have the proof of concept because we know where kids react or don't react in the books from all the readings I do and all the events that I do. So my goal is to, so I always want to build picture a pyramid. Anytime you build something, a pyramid, obviously, as you can see in nature, pyramids last forever. They're a completely, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sound structures.
Yeah, they're unaffected by the weather, by the natural disasters, by man, by human. So you want to build a big base, a big foundation. And then before you get to the very tippy top, which the original pyramids, before they were shiny and limestone and, gold tips on some of them, the fancy, pretty part was the very last part. And that's the part everyone sees. That's the highest point. So before there's a cartoon that everyone sees, I need to build this huge foundation first, and I need to build the next level. I need to have like this crazy pyramid built because if the cartoon comes out now, for example, then I don't have that foundation built. So if it falls or fails or doesn't do as great as it's supposed to, there's nothing for it to fall back on. If I build a great foundation and just the tip is the issue, then I still have this huge foundation already built. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to get these books done. The books will be the storyboards. The books will be the script, everything. It'll make the animator's job 1,000,000 times easier. It'll make it 1,000,000 times less expensive for us too, because we already have the main images drawn. After that, it's just mouth movements, arm movements, and motion. So there is a video. We do have it. It's actually on our YouTube channel as well. I just never shared it or promoted it. So I don't know where it's at on there even. I think I might have buried it in a playlist somewhere. But it's our promotional video for the board game. And that's the actual cartoon. It's exactly how the style we picked that we liked. It's awesome. So it is our goal, and they will be there eventually. Just like behind me, there's a prototype of the Seth stuffed animal. So there's a whole lot of stuff. It's a lot. I also have, before we end this, can I make an announcement that I have not said?
Announce away.
Have the floor.
I have my button.
There's something really cool that I'm going to share on here, but I can't, there's some details I have to leave out because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm excited about it to the point where I have to let it, it's like poison. I have to let it out.
Let it out.
So I partnered up with a company, with my brand, with Seth and with Bassquatch Hunter TV, or I still say TV, Bassquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water. You will see a product with my logo on it, my website, and our character Seth on it, on the front of it, in every single Walmart and Academy Outdoors and almost every party store, gas station, anybody that sells fishing bait. You will see this product. 3.5 million of these products are being made right now.
Wow.
And that's just 1 year's worth. It'll recycle next year in 2025 as well. So every single Walmart location in the country, though, will have something I wish I could say what it is, but I don't know if I'm allowed to yet because they're not out yet. But and the reason why that's so important is that anybody who knows this book, which is not millions of people like all the Walmarts, but anyone who knows this character at all, they're going to see it and recognize it at any Walmart they go to in the whole country. The only place it won't be available is in Hawaii. It's in 49 states except Hawaii. So you will see it at every Academy Outdoors, every Walmart, every mom and pop bait shop that sells this specific item, which is most of them. You will see our character, our Bassquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water logo is on there as well with our website for the show. My face was on there originally, but we removed it because I don't like my face on things. I like it to be like the branding kind of thing. I don't like me to be attached to it. I like it to be like a, anybody could be the host kind of thing.
Right.
Just how I am. I don't know. I'm weird about it, but we'll be in it's a lot of stores. It's pretty amazing, actually. In 49 states, 3.5 million of these items per year for 2 years, and it'll probably go further than that, actually. So, but super excited about it. It's gonna be more recognizable. People will see it and be like, "Hey, I know that character." Or if they don't, they're gonna go, "Hey, look at that character." Then they're gonna see the books afterwards, or the cartoon, or the stuffed animals, or all the other gear we have coming out, or there's all these other things that I'm integrating with it. I'm actually also starting my charity this year, which we can do. To start getting kids have the ability to follow their dreams and their passions. If they don't have the funding to go to music school, but they want to be a musician, then that's what my foundation is going to be for. Or if they want to be fishermen, but they don't have the access to a boat, or they don't know anybody in the industry, then we're going to make meetings happen and make connections happen. And I actually had a music company back in the day that did this for musicians. That got them in front of producers, so they had the opportunity no matter who they were. And it was an awesome company. I loved that company. And I met some amazing musicians from it too. So this is kind of the same idea that I'm doing with my foundation, where if a kid's like, I want to be a race car driver, but I'm in a very low income family and I live in the middle of nowhere. We have no race cars or racetracks. Like, how do I get into it? And it's like, well, here's a racing school that you can go to, and here's the money to do it. And also here's a race car driver that's willing to, sit down with you and talk to you. Like, here's your door kind of thing. But I feel like that's what stops people from achieving or chasing their dreams, is they don't know where to start, or they don't have the means to start. That's also something in 2024 that's been on my bucket list to be able to do, is have the foundation started. And hopefully I can start it big enough where we'll be able to make some pretty big impacts right away. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. But this year's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. We have so many big things going on. And like I always say, these are all just launch pads, not destinations. So, hopefully 2024 is a growth year where we can just launch to 2025 and so on and so forth.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. So, hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. I talk so much.
No, dude.
You're good.
We're like, there's
all
part
good.
3. There's part 3. We have to have you back for part 3. But I also want to invite you. Zach's going to have some trips home. If we can connect right here on National Internet Vision, let's get together and go fishing, the 3 of us.
Dude, I would love that.
Zach will be back in our neighborhood, the Indianaville, sometime here before long. And if we can connect on it, we're not filming an episode, we might grab a weekend and get together somewhere and try to do a little fishing.
Absolutely. It's 5 hours from me to Indianapolis. So there's a lot of fishing between me and that spot. So there's plenty of spots. Or I have couches and mattresses too. So you guys are more than welcome to come up here and do
Michigan don't sound bad. Some Michigan smallmouth never sound bad to us. You can promise that.
The lake behind my house is one of the better smallmouth fisheries in the area, and walleye. But Lake St. Clair is only 45 minutes away too. So
we can make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. I think that's let's knock that out this summer. So as we like to do with the Orion podcast, we want you to kind of thank the people that you need to thank. We want you to tell people where to find you on the socials and the TVs and the YouTubers and all the fun stuff. So just kind of go through that. Let everybody know how to get more bass squatching.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing, I thank everybody who's been supporting the industry as a whole. I think that's what's been opening up opportunities for everyone, including myself. So I don't need to thank individual brands or individual people. Just thank you to everyone who supported the show and my mission, and supported the industry as a whole, because that's the most important thing. And it's free to like things and view things and share things. So things like this podcast, like, just like it, comment on it, share it. That's all you got to do. And that's how you can do the most good for somebody that you want to support. So thank you to everyone who does those things and does the support stuff. And then if you want to look up my stuff, go to bassquatchhunter.com. That's kind of like a catch-all portal of everything. Or you can go to sethsquatch.com for the book, but that's also part of bassquatchhunter.com. And if you want to look up the show, there's links to it there as well. YouTube is there. If you Google the word Bassquatch Hunter, all of my stuff comes up, and interviews and everything comes up there too. So you can just Google it, make it easier, and check it out. But I really look forward to seeing some feedback on YouTube from our new episodes. Our 2024 season is going to be absolutely amazing. It's the first season with my new crew, self-produced show. This year is going to be absolutely incredible. And I will leak one thing really quick too. I've done episodes with a monster truck driver in Indiana. I got to drive a monster truck and drive over cars. We had kayaks on the cars too, which is pretty cool. If you want to see what a monster truck does to a kayak, it's actually pretty surprising. The cars didn't do as good as the kayaks did. But did monster trucks. I got to work in the world's largest and most successful penguin exhibit, and feed penguins and film underwater with penguins and do all this cool stuff. Got to work in potato chip factories, the world's largest worm factory. I got to do some cool stuff. The pyrotechnics for on the water firework displays. This season is going to be absolutely amazing. So definitely watch this season of Bassquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water and check it out. And I cannot wait to hear feedback on YouTube from everybody and on socials. See what you guys think.
And go pick up them books if you guys have got little kids. Go pick them up. I can't wait to get my hands on the second one. And Mike, do you sign them all?
Every single book that's ordered, I hand sign, but I don't sign it until it's ordered, because a lot of times people will message me when they buy a book, and I will ask them if they want it made out to somebody. So none of the books are pre-signed. If you order one, when you purchase online, you can make a note, or you can message me privately on socials. If you want it made out to someone specific, then I'm more than happy to do that. But every single book is signed either way. If you don't message me or don't say anything at all, I write a little private message in there, go chase your dreams, or your adventure starts today, or I write a fun little message and I sign it and send it out. And every book also comes with a custom bookmark with all the character stickers on there as well, so the kids can use a bookmark. It also comes with a thank you card that I autograph as well.
Cool.
One of Addicted Angler said it.
Get on there and get one for the girls.
Yeah, they're cool books. They're really cool. The age rating is 4 to 12. But that's just for reading on their own. So if you have an under 4-year-old, it's a great book to read to them. The pictures are amazing, and they'll grow into it. These books are, as you know, since you have one, these books are made to last forever. These are very expensive books for us to make. We used the thickest hardcover we could get. We used 100-pound satin paper, so it doesn't stain if you spill something on it, and it doesn't rip easily at all. We made sure that these will last a long time. So you can get them for your younger kids, and they'll grow into them, and I promise it'll be one of their favorite books.
And for most fishermen like me, you can still read it at your age. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a great adult book. It sounds funny, but like a lot of teachers that have read it have bought them for themselves, and they're like, "It's great." And I'm like, I wrote it for adults, but I wrote it in a way that kids could, like. I'm writing the third book right now, and it's literally like it's handwritten. Like I write them in pencil and everything first, and I write them as if I'm having a conversation. Like I don't dumb it down for kids. I'm not like, oh, the itsy bitsy. Like I'm not like talking to kids. Like I'm writing it as I'm talking to a kid, like they're an adult. But there's no, I don't use big words or anything in it, but it's like, it's normal vernacular. Like if you know me personally and you read the book, you can literally hear it in my voice. It's normal vernacular, the way I talk. Because I want it to be real. I want every part of this book. And there's a lot of personal things in this book. Like in the first book, there's a lot of little hidden things about my personal life. Some of the characters' names. The dog is actually my real dog. There's some of the things he goes through, like getting picked on for being a smaller Sasquatch. Like there's a lot of really personal things in every one of these books too that are kind of really important that I hope people can relate to.
So pick one up today, guys. Well, we appreciate you watching. We can't wait to do part 3 with Mike. Probably later this year, probably during a fishing trip. That's the goal.
That'd be a lot of fun.
As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. We're we're working on lining up our next big guest. So come on back, hang out with us at the Orion Podcast. We hope you find yourself inspired after listening to Mike's story, and go pick up a book.
And make sure you like and share this podcast. Comment on it. That's what helps everybody out. It's free.
Help Mike out. Go to Mike's page. We're good. We're good. We're just here hanging out. We'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Later.